Yeah, thanks so much. Creativity is something that everybody is talking about these days. You're doing that here in Ireland, and so are your neighbors in Wales and Scotland, and actually even more so faraway countries like China, India, Singapore, Thailand. And it's not very difficult to understand, why this has become the topic of the day. We live in this world in which the kind of things that are easy to teach and easy to test have become easy to digitize, to automate. Creativity is the source of innovation, and innovation is what makes our economies and societies, evolve, go around, and but when it comes to education, it's easy to talk about it, really hard to build this into the fabric of our education systems. That's what we see when we look around the world. We know how to educate second class robots, people who are good at repeating what we tell them. But what makes us, creative individuals, imaginative individuals. Now, the good thing is that there is no natural shortage of creativity. We are all born with an abundance of it. If you have a 3-year-old daughter or son, they're going to question everything you say and everything you do. They're going to experiment with everything. They're always open to novelty, always open to learn, always open to unlearn and relearn when the context changes. And as adults, sort of we lose it. In education, much of what we do is actually taking things away, not add to this. And that's something that we can see around the world. And then later on, we see that in our PISA scores. Now, the road to change in education, despite this ambition, is littered with so many good ideas that were often poorly implemented. Now, often people see a tension between creativity and knowledge. Obviously there's not. Knowledge is about, developing creativity. And we also at the OECD see a big drawback in our lack of ways to observe creativity. And what you cannot measure is always going to remain hard to improve. You can measure the product of knowledge, but you cannot measure the process of knowledge. And the most interesting results that we now get from our PISA outcomes is actually the capacity not to know what answer students got, but how did they get to the answer? What problem solving strategies did they deploy? And I think this is where we have to become better, to be more creative in the way in which we educate and also look at results. And that's also no surprise that creative thinking is going to be, the focus of our next PISA assessment. So I can't share results with you now, but it's going to be something that is important. What we already know, and where I can compare Ireland, is the growth mindset that young people have. And it's always an important precursor for creative thinking. Now, one of the most powerful predictors of student learning outcomes, and you still have, a significant share of 15-year-olds in Ireland who believe that success is about, my genes, my, inborn intelligence. It's not, the result of my effort, my hard work, my trust in my own abilities. And I think that kind of mindset and belief is a very important, precursor for creativity. If you want young people to be imaginative, to creative, you have to give them space to experiment. And if they experiment, they will, take risks. If they take risks, they will make mistakes. In our capacity to help students recover from mistakes, learn from and with mistakes, I think that's often still lacking. I'm not saying this just about Ireland, but certainly you can see that in the PISA results for Ireland as well. And at the OECD also, we have just completed, and actually Ireland has been active in this work with practitioners to develop better tools to foster creative skills. And what we found first and foremost is that this isn't so much a question of teaching creativity as such. I think that's often a misunderstanding. No, it's mainly a question about, the learning methods that are being deployed. You can teach creativity in the arts, but you can teach it equally well in mathematics and science. It's not so much about the curriculum. It's more about our approach to learning. And of course, it depends on the, learning environments, and then how they are, powered by, creative teachers, imaginative teachers, how we support creativity in pedagogy, reward, interesting work. And I must actually tell you, this is the part where I'm most inspired and intrigued by, the Creative Ireland initiative. What I can see in your work is, and I find it rare, quite rare elsewhere, is the systemic alignment. We just heard, from your prime minister how this cuts across all sectors of the society. And I see that kind of environment, that ecosystem, is what teachers need to take the courage to become more creative in their work. And if they do so, you're going to see your students to become more creative.